Hello, it's the 4th of March. I'm Tunji Andrews and you're watching Business Nigeria. Nigeria and Qatar recently finalized investment agreements for both countries going forward, while Qatar's plans to invest $390 million in Nigeria's logistic and transport sector is no longer news. We, however, will be discussing how countries that have been Nigeria's business allies for a while and how we should be looking at granting perhaps some of those tax waivers we've recently granted to the Qataris. Joining the discussion is Adegboyega Olatunde, research head here at Btva, and Oluwatosin Olaseinde. Tosi, welcome joining us on the desk. Also, Boyega. But Boyega, could you quickly just run us through what were the highlights of this deal between Nigeria and Qatar?
Okay. Tunji, basically it was a bilateral air services agreement, which basically means that you are opening more routes in between Qatar Airways and whatever air carrier we have in Nigeria as a nation. But aside that, there were other issues discussed regarding things like incidences of double taxation. So you would expect that the bilateral services agreement would foster things like trade, more trade between the two countries. Now, by also having a scenario where we have agreements regarding incidences of double taxation, what that does is it should also
foster business relationship.
Yeah.
So let's even start with Qatar before we start looking at other nations. And I mean, looking at the video wall, we see just the headline numbers: GDP for both countries, labor force, per capita income. It's actually touted that Qataris are actually the richest on the planet, yes, in terms of per capita income, reserves, inflation rate, imports, exports. And Tosi, I'm asking, since the major focus of this deal was the bilateral trade agreements, should we be looking at other areas to exploit this business deal? I mean, we've created the double taxation thing, so I mean that is out of the way. So it opens up easy access to business between both countries.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fantastic that they're looking at the airline industry, but I think that there are other sectors that we could also be looking at, things like your infrastructure. We can go into a PPP, with a country and look for how to invest in other sectors besides just the air services that was being spoken about at the deal. I mean,
Boyega, I also want to jump in quickly. If you look at the numbers, labor force, 1.59 million people, though the entire population is about 2 million. Now, and their unemployment rate is 0.4%, which means that they've basically absorbed largely the entire population, the entire workforce. And then we look at Nigeria with a 75 million workforce, and we're looking at about between 8 and 9% of that unemployed, and about another 21% underemployed. Could we be looking at exporting jobs to Qatar?
Yes and no. One of the basic challenges you have with our labor force is a lot of it is actually skewed towards agrarian industries in Nigeria. So yes, on some sites where you have skilled professionals, you could export to Qatar. But because most of our labor force, if you actually look at it in terms of constitution or constituents, is agrarian based, then in some cases, no.
But I think that's, still on human capital. Most of these other jobs can actually be trained. Things like customer service, things like customer service, and all these other sectors that they can actually take like a 6-month training, menial jobs, unskilled labor that does not require a certain kind of set skills. They can train them and they can actually absorb them.
But basically, because they're planning a World Cup for 2022, you have had an influx of low-skilled labor from countries within and around Qatar itself. So you have had an influx of Indians.
But going back to the video wall, now we're looking at Nigeria's export partners and Nigeria's import partners. Now, I'm more concerned with the export partners, people we are exporting to and doing a lot of business with. Now, we're talking about India, we're doing our 14.1%, Spain 10.3%, but let's even leave that. India. Now, should we have this kind of a trade agreement with India? I think we have some trade agreements with them, but I did remember seeing somewhere that the High Commissioner was talking about the fact that we've not been able to have this same tax waiver agreement with India. I mean, looking at the way the economy is moving at a fast pace and the fact that they've been able to surmount the infrastructure deficits in the country, shouldn't we be looking at opening this door with them?
Definitely. In terms of impact, I would lean towards India. I mean, if you look at our top imports, machineries is topping that list. And India also produces a lot of the machineries that we're actually buying out. So that's a win-win for both parties. The importer automatically gets a bit of a reduction just because the tax has been waived. So in terms of impact, I would lean towards us signing a similar agreement with India as opposed to any other nation. So
another thing you should actually know regarding our imports with India is right now a lot of it is actually skewed towards oil.
Oil, yeah.
It's actually skewed towards oil.
So can we look for other areas they might want to...
Exactly, collaboration. Yeah, you should look for other areas of collaboration. But because a lot of it right now is actually skewed towards oil, it leads you a very, very little window in terms of collaboration in the manner that Tosin has actually spoken of.
All right, do stay with us. Business Nigeria continues in a bit.